Tonight in an interview you'll only see first on News 4, a Sparks man accused of a casino takeover is telling his side of the story. Let's get you caught up on this months-long saga. It started with an incident on October 9th at the Chukchansi Indian Resort near Fresno. Media reports and law enforcement described it as an armed takeover involving more than a dozen people. We learned a local man, 49-year-old Timothy Tofaute, was involved. Now, he once worked in Reno with a private security firm. On November 18th, an arrest warrant is issued for Tofaute and two other men. Video taken of the officers and Tofaute's group is obtained by News 4. The men are accused of assault, kidnapping, and false imprisonment. On December 1st, Tofaute turns himself in and immediately bails out. Now he's sitting down with News 4's Ryan Kern. That story is new at 5.
This is being described as a violent takeover. Was it violent?
Violence is subject to interpretation, clearly, but in my expert opinion, it was not a violent takeover. It wasn't even a takeover by definition.
Tim Tofaute is an officer in the Chukchansi Tribal Police Department. 2 months ago, he and 13 others entered the Chukchansi Gold Resort and Casino near Fresno, California. Tofaute says casino resort officials were not submitting monthly audit reports. So he says the goal, prevent the casino from being shut down.
Solely to recover and retrieve documentation for the purposes of discovering where the audit reports were.
The night of the incident, a resort casino spokesperson said otherwise.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with the audit. It has to do, unfortunately, with some of the lingering bitterness and acrimony between some of the factions.
The NIGC, National Indian Gaming Commission, gave notice the casino would be closed. Tofaute says this operation was a last-ditch effort to keep it open.
Diplomatic negotiations and talk and dialogue between all of the political parties of the tribe, they had gotten nowhere.
What you're seeing is exclusive footage of the operation given to News 4, only seen by some of those involved and their attorneys. Tofaute's job was to get inside the resort's Tribal Gaming Commission office. He says this was done in less than 7 minutes.
The office area where the documents were located were on the resort side. There was no slot machines. I mean, there was no gaming in that area. I couldn't even tell you what the casino floor looks like because I've never been on it, ever.
22 days later, Tofaute and his team were charged by the Madera County District Attorney with kidnapping, false imprisonment, and assault, among others.
All the way down.
In what the district attorney called a, quote, casino takeover.
I'm still dumbfounded. You know, our legal counsel that we've talked to, every counsel that we have spoken to, they're perplexed by this.
Tofaute, a Navy SEAL, first came to northern Nevada in the 90s. He has been a part of the Reno area community since 2000. We were with him 9 years ago when he conducted a safety drill for the Washoe County School District and Sparks Police Department.
What we added today was the coordination effort that you need to do to get all the parties together.
Now he's talking to us again for another reason.
We're just looking for a couple people.
Tofaute decided not to turn himself in at first. Chukchansi Tribal Police Chief John Oliveira did.
I can't imagine one of the claims or the charges that are placed on us that our videos won't show the contrary action to.
Oliveira swore in Tofaute as a police officer and agrees the charges against him won't hold up. Until now, footage released has only been from resort casino surveillance cameras.
Like anything, it's all perception. I mean, in the context that the public has seen it, they've seen one small clip.
Oliveira says the video here shows the beginning of the operation. Private security officials from STC Security, a company contracted by Resort Casino Management, are being detained, including Leonard Rawson, who spoke with our Fresno station the day after the operation.
When asked, none of them would identify themselves except for being Chukchansi police. I knew from my experience working with the Sheriff's Department here and working with the casino that there's no recognized Tribal Police Department.
But there may have been. News 4 uncovered counts of the Chukchansi Tribal Council hiring Oliveira on September 1st. He says this began the first ever Chukchansi Tribal Police Department. A little more than a month later, he and his officers enter the resort casino.
We want to hold on to our evidence and our videos, and then after everybody's put those things and sort of recorded and memorialized their statements and lies, now we can come back and counter those accusations with video.
They order us to the ground. I asked them what their authority was. They never advised me other than that they were the police.
We moved people from for officer safety, for public safety, and for the detainees' safety.
They handcuffed me. Once I was handcuffed, I was picked up and taken to one of the conference rooms on the first floor of the casino, at which time they attempted to search us. About 4 of my staff were illegally detained there.
The members of the private security company that we had detained upon arrival, we turned over to the sheriff's department upon their arrival.
He says 16 minutes later, the private security officials re-entered the resort casino where his officers were.
They went to confront them. At that time, one of the security members that we had detained earlier, he was given back his tasers and other weapons, and so he pulled the taser out on one of the officers at that time and attempted to tase the officer actually in the head.
Oliveira says this altercation is around the corner from this scuffle you are seeing now. Tofaute says he was the one with the taser aimed at his head, and he says it was eventually shot at his hand.
They wanted to have a law enforcement capability internally, and that's why we were brought on board, was to help build that capability. And as a sovereign nation, they have the inherent right to do that.
Despite the charges and possibly more, Oliveira says his team is still the Chukchansi Tribal Police Department. He says they're doing their own investigation of what happened on October 9th.
When, more cooler heads and reasonable people with common sense review everything that happens, I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't just dropped immediately and it never goes to trial. And if it did, that wouldn't bother me either, because we'll crush them.
Oliveira says he met with the Madera County Attorney, DA, and Sheriff before the operation, and we have a call into the Madera County District Attorney's Office and are waiting to hear back. Well, stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back with a final check on the forecast.